I created this Star Wars Cantina build based off of a lot of movie scenes in Star Wars. And I like it. I think it's good, but I don't think it's great, and I don't love it. And there's a problem I have with diorama sets, which is what I would categorize this as. And I want to show you my thought process on why I have issues with this and where I would like to see it go in the future. And I am going to present a visual solution which Lego created, and I think it can be applied to Star Wars. When I built this diorama set, my original intention was I wanted to create something at least 3 stories high, maybe 4, and create a kind of icon in the middle of a town square in a outpost in Star Wars. And then after I built it, I would create some maybe smaller buildings to go around it, and I could display those around and have, ships land, and my kids could lay them out however they want. However, that's a lot of work. It is a lot of bricks. It's really expensive, and it's not what my build technique is about. But I do want to be able to display the minifigures that I've collected, because I really like collecting all the unique alien molded minifigures in Star Wars. And that's kind of what this is. It's a display piece for my minifigures.
I look forward to seeing them in action.
As you can see, I have a very intimidating entrance. You walk up to it, it's supposed to be this kind of like crime lord's den or cantina. This skull up here, I was very inspired by the scene in Solo. And this, very round door is something very Star Wars, having different architecture that you don't see here on Earth. And I made it kind of a temple base. So we see a lot of that where very old architecture is transformed into something new, and you can see some technology running through it and some different things that have been added on to this very old looking building where it's very decrepit, but it also has some unique and futuristic touches to it as well. So I hearken to very Star Wars-like imagery into a set just using the pieces I had.
You must be very proud.
However, I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze with this type of build.
Curious.
This takes up a lot of bricks, it takes up a lot of space, and it's very static. I can't do a whole lot with it.
How could you even say that?
And it's just display. It's not very strong. In fact, I didn't even put an interior in here. And I could have, had this top pop off easily. I could have had this whole roof lift off. But this doesn't measure up to what I think is successful Lego. I think successful Lego is something you can display and play, and this is lacking in the play section. There has to be a way to make this much more dynamic, like a starship is, where you can switch around, it can change function, like an X-Wing's S-foils moving. Surely I can create something more like that with a diorama set.
You will try.
Before I move on and present the solution, I think, to very static diorama sets, I want to talk about the current state of Star Wars diorama sets. I don't love them. I like ships in Star Wars, I like buying those, I like modifying those, but I don't like the sets. They're kind of eh. And that goes for a lot of the scene depiction sets where it's depicting a place in Star Wars, with some exceptions. Like the Mos Eisley Cantina is amazing. It's very good. It's very accurate. It's really good for what it is. It's depicting that building. And more power to all the creators out there who do elaborate landscapes and very accurate and beautiful display pieces with amazing details. That's another type of building that's not my style. I try to go for things that are much compact, squeeze the space, and really make the most of my money for the amount of bricks that I'm putting into it. And it's very play focused and dynamic, so I feel like I'm getting a lot of use out of it and I can put it up on a shelf. And so that type of diorama building's not for me, and what Lego produces isn't really for me either, because the accuracy and details of those creations from Lego just aren't quite up to par with the level of detail. So my solution is we need something more like the El Dorado Fortress.
What's this?
The Lego El Dorado Fortress is an absolutely stunning set of both display and play with amazing new techniques that I haven't really thought about with diorama sets until now. This fort is really a kind of township right here. We have a town square almost, with at least 3 different buildings, and the whole set I think is around 2,500 pieces, and that's with a small boat as well, which I'm not even showcasing. But the really awesome thing is this opens up and you can make a whole different facade, a whole different dynamic play with this set that I think Star Wars needs to emulate. This set breaks up into 5 different sections that have all their own unique details and very intricate designs that allow for a lot of playability, and you can really make a different scene based on the different sections that you stick together. There's a whole nother cave and ground level underneath the fort that really makes my mind imagine what this could be for Star Wars. So let's apply this kind of display and play to something like this cantina over here. If we made a township that had the same type of tan, old style buildings, and then we created a cave system underneath with a Mandalorian forge, like how awesome does that sound? That is a really great display and playability side of Lego and Star Wars that I don't think we've ever seen before.
It'll work. It'll work.
There are some very good honorable mentions out there. Like, for example, the Lion Knight's castle is amazing because it goes from a very complete castle that's encapsulated, and then it can fold out and show a facade. But you can't separate the sections. But this one really caught my attention because it's not nearly as many bricks as the Lion Knight's castle. It's around 2,500. And I could definitely see something like that cantina being skinned over top of something like this and working in the Star Wars universe seamlessly. So I will make mention that this set isn't perfect. It's not exactly what I would want with a Lego set, but it just gets my mind working in different ways and how I can use what's super successful, such as like this ramp is built so well, and I love the technique here. There's a lot of things I can take and run with, and there's other things I can change and modify and improve, and I hope you guys see what I'm doing here, because I think a lot of Star Wars sets are very expensive, and they kind of just do the bare minimum because they're trying to make them accessible for kids who aren't going to be able to access, a $100 set. Or if we have a 2,500 piece set in Star Wars money, that's probably going to be $320.
How's he going to pay for all of this?
And the reason why I'm not going with something specific, like I'm not doing a Tatooine build, I'm not doing a specific building, is because I want to keep myself very free and be able to make it very Legoized. If you are looking for better movie and TV show scenes in Lego, then I highly suggest you check out Jane in Bricks on Instagram. He is achieving a level of detail and the size that I really like, but he's giving the right homage to the actual scene itself. So there are builders out there doing really good work in a very good scale that keeps the price down and it keeps the size down. When you start making very specific buildings, such as the Mos Eisley Cantina, you have to stick to that. So I understand why they don't make that very sectioned out into different parts. But we could apply this to so many other types of architecture within Star Wars. Just think if we had a Coruscant underworld that has, this gloomy undersection with tunnels, and then it has the street corners up top, or you could think of a Bespin Cloud City and having those very white buildings. There's so much within Star Wars that you could apply that style and architecture to a very dynamic set. So that way you have really cool display pieces that then you can land your ships, have your people go into those buildings, those towns, and really interact and display up on your shelf. So side by side, I hope you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. These are very similarly sized, and if I had completed the interior of this probably would be around the same number of pieces as this set, but this has so much more to it. There's so much more dynamic play, and I love a whole different facade opening up with this. This makes this exceptional. This is good, I like it, but I think this can be better. I think I can apply this Star Wars detail to something like this. If that interests you, let me know. I don't know if I'm gonna pull the trigger on this. I'm going to aim for something that's around 2,500 pieces, and it's going to be this outer rim type of old world cantina build or township, and that could be applied to any type of era of Star Wars. If you want to apply the original trilogy minifigures you have to it and have your Millennium Falcon land in front of it with Han Solo walking in, great. If you want Mando and the Mando Forge underneath, fantastic. Or if you want your clone troopers defending a township against an invading droid army, you can do that as well. My thought is that I want to create something that is kind of universal within Star Wars, no matter what era you prefer. And it is something that you can then populate with the minifigures that you prefer. Because again, this all started with me realizing that I have a lot of minifigures I really like, and I want to display them on something that makes sense. And since Star Wars ships that I create can only hold so many, we really need a place for them to interact and land and display and play with the actual minifigures that I have. And I think this is a really good solution. I am very curious to see how this might evolve into the future, and I do want to get some feedback from everybody before I start really pulling the trigger on creating something that could look very much like this. This is a part of the video where I ask you to like, subscribe, and feed the YouTube algorithm, which I hate doing, but we're at the end of the video, and if you've made it here and you haven't done those things already, what are you doing? But in all seriousness, this is a different type of video where I explore design ideas, and if you like this, please let me know by doing those things, so it lets me know you would like to see more of this content in the future. And by the way, I do comment back when you guys comment, so please engage and let's discuss, so that way we can come up with bigger and better ideas. And by the way, I'm just one designer. I can only build one thing at a time. It's going to take me a long time to develop this idea and then my other mocks. So please, other designers, get involved, build things, share images with me on Instagram, and let's discuss how we can make Lego Star Wars better.